Looking at a 1990 300ZX. Engine code went off telling me an injector was problem. It just has a little red light that blinks on the computer, not a red and a green one like some computers, one light. So I get one light blinking 5 times and the other one blinking once or 3 times. So and then you can hook up these diagnostics that are made by a company called Snap-on, as you already know. So skipping ahead, where I'm at on this now is I've diagnosed 2 parts. Try to get right down to the nitty-gritty here. This is my coil, my spark plug, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These right here just pull off with a screwdriver. Okay, anyway, what I did was I took, this is number 4, and I put number 2 over here in number 4 just to check, make sure, because when I was pulling these plugs that I'm trying to get off to show you, pulling them off while they were still on the engine in the off position, had the engine off, pulled them off, and then I got no change on number 2 in the misfire on my engine. That's what the reason I'm doing this, because I had a misfire. So when I started looking at the engine codes, so the misfire was indicating number 2. As I pulled the plugs off, I didn't get any engine change, so it was number 2 I was going to focus on just to check it out. I pulled this one out, put it into number 2, and then so this is actually number 4, and number 2 is firing. But now I want to make sure my spark plug was firing, and I just took my little light here, stuck it inside the tube without the spark plug, and it was going pop, 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 pop on every engine fire. Want to hear that again? Pop, 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 pop. Yeah, it sounds just like that. So, and then also when you put a plug in here, it'll fire too as well. You know, it'll shoot a spark out pretty far, so don't get your hands in there. Okay, and so my light is grounded, and I just touched the end here, and you don't get any light that blinking off and on, but the spark was good enough for me to know that the coil was still good. So now I think I'm going to be pretty lucky here, but this is going to be one of those videos that I'm going to tell you stay tuned and see what happens here, because the majority of the time when you have to do these injectors, you got to pull off the entire plenum. This is the plenum, and it's, as you can see, it's not a 5-minute job, and it's there are a lot of hoses, a lot of things you have to replace. So I am looking at the injector, fuel injector under here, and I can see the wire that it hooks to. I'll show you in a second. And there's a screw up here, so I may be able to get to it by removing this. And the second one's going to be a bigger challenge. I'll probably put some WD-40 on there, because no doubt this has been together for a long time, and it's not going to be an easy thing to get off. So I'm going to be very gentle with these connectors, because 1990, that's 20 some odd years it's been on here, so kind of fragile, kind of a crispy critter fooling with old wires. So okay, enough chatter, I'm going to get to work. Okay, I've been hearing some, what I would initially thought was some pretty crazy ideas about using a Dremel or some kind of a grinder to go in here and try to get the screw out. And this is my number 2 injector. Okay, that's a better shot. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on the injector. There's one screw right there. There we go. Okay. Down in there. That's the other screw right there. So, as you can see, or maybe not see, but if I put my finger down in here, trying to get this camera in there is amazing. I got to pull these wires off, obviously, but I can feel the casting. Now, if you can see, this is a casting, and you can see the line on the casting, and it has a fin, or what I would call an overcast of material that protrudes out over the top of the screw. I'm going to take and shave a little bit of that off, and as to not distort or poke a hole in the top of this thing, so it doesn't you know, destroy it, costing who knows how much in a foolish mistake, so fatal mistake. So that's the injector, and I'm going to leave it right here, but that's my goal. I'm going to go get my Dremel tomorrow and continue this project. But this is on the number 2 cylinder, okay? I've heard some people do it on the number 6, and it looked like a real chop job, but I'm not going to do a chop job, that's for sure. So I'm going to take it very carefully and clean up the casting, see if it'll help to make enough room to where I can get that screw out. If not, then I'll take the whole top off. Okay, this is an attempt to clear off a lot of the excess mold of the top of this number 2 cylinder so I can get to that bolt on the left. I've put an orange seal over the top of the injector so I won't get the particles in there. Also over the top of the spark plug hole back here on the other side, right in there. So, but my goal is to remove there's quite a bit of overcast on this casting, and there's a possibility that I won't be able to remove it all, but I'm showing you step by step what I'm doing to remove some of this on the number 2 cylinder. The number 1, the first bolt is not coming loose easy for me. I couldn't get it out with a screwdriver, and so I'm going to have to see what I can do about that one. Work in progress, folks. Show you how far I'm coming along. As you can see, the ledge right there, see, was the same on the other side. There's a huge piece of casting here that sticks out about 1/4 of an inch. So I probably have taken off about 100 to 150 thousandths now of an inch, and you can actually see the screw now. If you were looking at the first video, you can actually, I could probably get a screwdriver in there in a second. Not sure if it's going to come loose because these have been on there for over 20 years, but if I can get a better angle on this, but you can see that I've got to get that lower portion off, otherwise I won't get the bolt out. But it's getting there, taking a little bit at a time, and I'm using a carbide burr. The first tool I used was this one, $11. And the second one I'm going to use right now is one like that, both carbide tipped. Those are called burrs. Not sure if you've seen one of these, but it's a speed out type of setup. It's not the exact brand, but if you can find, I think they call them speed outs. The other side has a left-hand drill, and believe it or not, that's I think it's a 5mm screw, and it's a counterclockwise driven drill. I got it. I took the other side and drilled it with an extension because I can't even get a small enough drill in there. So I put an extension on my drill and managed to get it down in there. Okay, so you can see that I've got that thing with the easy out, and it actually is taking it out. Taking the 8-inch flex tool from Harbor Freight. And the reason I put tape on that, because obvious reasons, I don't want it to drop down in that crevasse in there. It's not, I didn't even get it drilled in there straight because this bolt right here on the plenum is actually not allowing me to get directly right down in there. So that's what you're in for on this one. This is the number 2 cylinder. Now I got to get to the other one that you saw me grind off earlier. That screws the next one. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that out of there at this point, but it's a whole lot more accessible than it was before. I'm into this about an hour. It took me about 20 minutes to grind off that, shave that plenum down a little bit so I could get that the head of that bolt. I'm going to shut up and get working. Okay, I got that one out. Okay, and now I'm working on that one, which this whole section right here I ground off on the other side. This is a lot of, if you put your finger into there, you can feel the overcast of that piece. On this side here I did grind most of it away so that it's like one big solid tube now. You can see it's like straight with the rest of the tube body, and there is enough room to get the screw out, but I can't quite get the screwdriver on it, so I'll let you know how that goes. I can't do both, hold the camera at the same time, so I'm on my own here. Okay, right now I am one happy camper. I just got the second one. It's taken me about an hour, but as you can see, or maybe you cannot see, of course, there is just enough room to get that screw out of there, and it was a bear. I had to take a Dremel and open the hole up in the side of the screw itself because that tool I was using before, that one right there, so I get this thing to focus, it just wouldn't go because I didn't have the right angle. This, honestly, the angle on this bolt is, you know, it's not made to be taken out with the plenum on the top, so obviously, but I'm just telling YouTubers, this is like not neurosurgeon but surgery getting this out of here, but it is it's quite challenging and not recommended if you don't know the heck what you're doing. If you grind too much off this plenum, you're going to poke a hole in it. So, but knowing how to use the Dremel or the die grinder with a burr on it, I can see how the castings are made and that there was some excess hanging over, and you'll be good to grind it very slowly and give yourself, I could have taken more. I didn't take any more off the plenum than necessary, so I'm going to be able to get this injector out now, and I'm pretty doggone happy without taking the plenum off. I did end up using this regular easy out. I had shaved it off. It's just kind of a stubby, so I had to stick the Dremel in there, open it up about a little bit. I don't know exactly what size I use. It's a little bit smaller than an 1/8 inch. Probably about 100,000 diameter burr tool, just with a ball end on it, and went down inside the screw, opened it up again because I couldn't get it out with the other easy out or hard out, whatever. So this regular easy out worked with a small handled tool. Okay, this is with the cover off the top of that injector, and there's a little metal washer, I don't know what to call it, on the top of that. It's just under the cover. That's the way it goes back in. I got to clean all that grinding dust out of there. I did have a cover over the top of it. It doesn't make any difference. It's going to be replaced anyway. I'm going to blow it out, clean out all the debris inside, left over from the grinding I did over there. But the screw was really tight getting it out. I think I'm going to put a different set of screws in there, and I'm going to put some anti-lock in the hole that it make it easier for someone to get it off. Use it on my boat to put screws in that are on engines and works real well when you have to go to take something out after a long period of time because there's heat involved. And so I'm probably going to use possibly an Allen screw or a fastener 6mm screw, but I believe it is. Looks like it anyway, and I'll verify that when I'm done with this video for you that are wanting to know what size screws to get. Okay, so that's number 2 cylinder injector going to be replaced. Okay, I wanted to show you this last part. I just pulled this injector out just like that. I took a pair of pliers, ground off the side of it because that's the best way I could get it without destroying the injector and getting in between that area. Why didn't I use long nose pliers? Because the long nose pliers didn't grip it very well. And I didn't have any special rubber ones, so I just took a cheap pair of pliers and just ground off the side, and it worked great. It had a good bite. But I did spray WD-40 in the top to get those O-rings, and I kept working sideways like this because it took probably 45 minutes for me. I let it soak. I've been sitting here for 45 minutes hanging over the engine, but basically I'd say total time just to get that one stinker out of there, and it just went just like that. Sounded like a pop. And before I did that, I took the fuse out of the fuel pump over near the battery. There's a fuse on the end on the 300Z. This is a 1990, and I pulled the fuse out just so I wouldn't have fuel pressure in there. Cranked it over a few times, and wrapped my plugs with rubber tape because I don't want anything to spark and burn out. And then, of course, you'll hear the cylinder going ka-chunk, chunk, you know, as you're turning it. But I just turned it and let some pressure out. I'm not sure if that really did it, but that's what I did. And I did run an ohm meter on these 2 pins in here, and I got nothing. 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 That's right. Okay, so we are moving ahead. I wanted to show you how much room there is in there now after shaving off that edge right there. This is just prior to my install. There's the hole. I took out all the washers down in there, but you can see I got a whole lot more room in there. Looks like maybe 200 thousandths off the side of that big chunk right there on the right. On the yeah, you can see on the casting there's a big piece that I've ground up on the other side. So, but I did a nice slow grind with a burr, about a half-inch burr, on a, not a Dremel, but it was a die grinder, and just took my time and supported it because you have to be very careful with those burr tools. They'll dig into your work, and you won't have a second chance to, you know, if it digs into your plantum, it's toast. So you got to take it very carefully. And that's the scoop on that, and I'm about ready to show you my injector assembly. Okay, this is my injector, a new injector, and this O-ring down here was stuck in the fuel bar. I took it out because it only came with this one. So this is the old O-ring on the top there. I put it on there. I'm going to put a little bit of lube on the O-ring when I put it in, so they'll slip down in there. Now these are stainless steel, and they are just a hair shorter, probably about, I don't know, 50 thousandths shorter, maybe less than that, maybe about 30 thousandths shorter than the original screws here. That's the original, which is all destroyed. And I'm not going to put it in with the washer. I'm going to put it straight in without the washer. I put some anti-lock on the end, as you can see. And this right here is the washer that will go on top of the, get my finger in there. This right here is the washer that will go on top of the injector. And this is the cap. and that is the washer down in there. That washer is going to fit on top of that right there. So I'm going to put a little grease on something to kind of keep it from falling down in the engine, and that's going to be my assembly there. I'm just showing you all the details that I'm going to do. So that's the cap, and I use this to pry out the old washer down in that washer right there. Okay, so I'm going to reassemble, and this reassembly you should be able to find on other people's thing, but I'm just showing you my experience of what happened with having to grind off. I'm also going to put some dielectric grease on these two prongs here, just so I get good continuity over time, and snap my connectors all back on, lock it down with an Allen wrench that is got a ball end on it. That's how I'm going to do it. So, okay, I wanted you to see this. I have the injector in, and there is a lot of room in there to get that out. I mean, feels like a lot after what I had before. And just to show you, let me put this tool down. I used, okay, see how much room I've got in there now to get that screw in there? That's a whole lot better than before. So, and the screws went in perfect, and the little cap on the top of the injector, that little washer, you gotta use, I used a dental tool to keep it straight. Maybe a little grease on the top of it, keep it from jerking around, because if you use anything metallic, like a screwdriver or something like that, it'll grab it. It's so light, and it'll go right down into your engine. You'll never see it unless you take your engine apart, or you get lucky and pick it out of there. So that's it. Okay, now I'm going to put dielectric grease on those contactors there. Contacts right there. And reassemble the vehicle. Okay, I just finished putting this car back together again. I already started it up, and it runs smooth. It is new, and idles at 750. Still dropping down right now, but very smooth, very quiet. So I'm very thankful. Another tool you might want to get is this tool. It's got a easy out on one side and a left-hand drill on the other side. And this removes by turning it left, and this removes or drills by turning it left. And then I used this flex-handled, it's an 8-inch flexing, you can get them at Harbor Freight, and I put a piece of PEX tubing over it so I could turn it in a drill or with my hand, or with a hand driver, you know, what you'd use for like a tap wrench or something, and just grab the end to get my little screws out. That's what I used, because getting down past that aluminum plenum, yeah, the plenum, yeah.